Tech2sDay. Yours truly, BC, here at the Bisimoto headquarters and one of the showrooms. I want to really wish you guys a very pleasant week, and hopefully you're looking forward to a very amazing balance of the week leading into the weekend. I have many of you here through the different networks. I have you directly in front of me from Instagram, YouTube Live to my right, to my left. I have TikTok, and at the very bottom I have my podcasting networks that I am keenly recording and archiving our interaction with, which should be very good. Howdy, Fest Quill. Thank you so much for joining. Gasket Head says, it's been a while. Glad to be back. Thank you so much for joining here on Instagram. GMVS Limited. Hi to you as well. Austin Deach. Greetings. Good afternoon. John JCP via STI. Waving to you as well. Lori Coppola. Hello. Good afternoon. Hazel May 547 BC, I have a question. Are you going to be at Fuel Fest 2025? I plan to be, especially here in California. That is the goal. I'm typically there for the past 3 consecutive ones. I have been there without qualms. So yes, I plan on going indeed. I Spy an Insight says forward. Yes, it's right there on the parachute. Relentless Racing. Hello, AJ, brother. How are you? For those of you who don't know AJ, what a great guy, great friend, amazing engineer, and someone who's taught me how to be a better driver. You see that center seat Porsche in front of the 997 right there? That Porsche, AJ, helped me really hone and fine-tune my skills on the road race tarmac and taught me that smooth is better. I really appreciate you indeed. Exo Truck. Hello. Good seeing you as well. Are you going to be a car put, says Hazel May. I don't know what that means. Kindly rephrase. You're one of the few that can pronounce my last name best, says Austin. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words. Good morning to you as well, Omnipotent One on YouTube. Yo, Claude Detton on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining. When are you going to collaborate with Boosted Boys, says Trunk 096. Excuse me. I didn't know collaboration was in the works or in the cards. I know they're out of state and we're here in Southern California. I've never been approached by the team over there, and if so, I have no objection to doing that. I love the fact that more enthusiasts get together and build really cool cars. I've always been this kind of crazy guy who found Honda wagons as a very cool project. That's one of my wagons is right here. And the fact that we built one as far back as 2008 and they came out with their own version. We built an Odyssey, they came out with their own version. It seems that we have a lot of the same, how should I say, the same mindset when it comes to really creating amazing cars out of things that are really unloved. So that being said, if there's opportunity for collab, sure, why not? I think I received something recently where they were speaking ill of what we do. I don't know if that was correct or not, but anyway, either way, I feel that the more that we do as an enthusiast community to really uphold really cool cars, wagons, minivans, all that fun stuff, making them fun and unique, I think it's a great thing for the entire industry. So I'll continue to do that with the team and continue to do wonderful things in the wake. Moderator is here, says Warrior Fella. Hello, BC. Good afternoon. Good seeing you, Warrior Fella. First time watching the YouTube, usually on Instagram, says JC1014. Well, thanks so much for spreading your horizons. Appreciate that indeed. Fernando Meza 927 gave me the first #1 glitter badge on TikTok. Thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate that indeed. And some of you who may know me already, is a good refresher. For those of you who do not know, my name is BC. I'm here in this great company, Bisimoto. I have my whole team here. We build really cool cars. And long story short, I'm doing this as a way to give back to the community. When I came to the United States from Nigeria, West Africa, I didn't really know much about cars, wanted to learn. And I was shunned quite a bit. People wouldn't teach me or show me the ropes. John Concialdi, the founder of AEM, did come to my rescue and help me quite a bit. And I'm doing this to become the person I needed when I was younger. So any questions you may have about any of my projects here, any of the projects I've done in the past, any technology I've explored, I'm here to share everything. And as time progresses and we learn more together, more will come to light. JC1014, it says, you build badass cars, BC. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words. And you know what? You see a variety of cars here if you come to the facility. Even in this room, there's a variety of petrol and electric cars. You can't see, but there's electric 356 right there. There's a Porsche 911 that's getting electrified. That's to my right. This is a petrol car, my good friend James. Center seat twin turbo vehicle, sequential gearbox, all-wheel drive Civic wagon. The Insight, a 914, that's going to have some madness happening. A twin turbo Cayman. We have a variety of vehicles here in this shop here, which are pretty cool. But none of this will happen without the technology that continues to push us forward. How do I write off turbos and other parts on my license tax return? Unfortunately, Exo Truck, I'm not a registered CPA. That may be best reserved for them. I typically provide all the information to my CPA and he or she does all the magic. But I don't have that insight to be able to help you with that, so please forgive me. I love all things. The Bisimoto says, Jessica Wood. Thank you so much, Jessica. You're so kind. I appreciate you. I love you deeply. Thank you so much for being a great positive influence on my life as well. Are you ever coming back to the Battle of Imports in Woodburn, Oregon, says Ford Adventure. That is a blast from the past. I went to the BOTI in Oregon once at Woodburn. Nice track, great people, just amazing time. We had a blast out there. Battle doesn't exist anymore for the Adventure, so unfortunately I have no need to run that circuit with Frank Choi and be out there, but nonetheless, I may go out there soon. My good friend James, who actually owns that 997, shared that Oregon has some really cool wines and some great shopping and eateries as well, so maybe it's a place to go. I may be out there sooner or later, but I'll make sure that I let people know when I'm in that vicinity. I do like the Pacific Northwest and all the regions up there. Really cool, nice place to be indeed. And speaking of nice place to be, look at this, guys. I don't know if many of you know what this is. I'll show it to all of you on the different networks, okay? This is a valve spring, and this is a Bisimoto Pro spring that is designed for a D16 Z6, also designed for a Y8, and also any of the VTEC single cam D series engines can fit. Let's say it's a ZC VTEC or the D15B. This valve spring fits there quite nicely, and you may look at this as a very simple device. It looks really easy, like some windings, which is pretty nice, right? But you'll see it's really wound tightly on the bottom and then it gets kind of progressively bigger on the top end. There's a reason for that. This progressive spring allows for a soft seat pressure, which is very nice to allow for sealing. But as it opens up, the more it opens up, the more the pressure is. So if you have any challenges with old valve springs that are in the original vehicle that has hundreds of thousands of miles, if you have the need to update your assembly to a higher RPM or boosted setup, this very cost-effective spring set of 16 is to your advantage. And this simple device really does a lot. It has a daunting task of keeping your valve springs and retainers in the proper orchestration that is dictated by the camshaft. So when you go to the top of the camshaft at high RPMs or when there's boost involved, it doesn't ski jump off the lobe of the cam and then create this valve flow situation, which is not good for power. So this does a great job in not only keeping the valve train intact and following the profile of the cam to give you the best reliable power. It also has a transferring heat, also has some harmonics dampening that prevents you from getting some weird things happening in the valve train itself. Also, when you're boosting, you're adding the additional variable of boost and pressure. This helps keep things where they need to be. If you don't have a good valve spring pushing against that boost pressure, your valve could open when it's supposed to be closed just because of boost. So that being said, this is a very simple part in the internal combustion engine that should be respected and is quite viable. They're not all created equally. Some don't have the greatest windings, some anneal or get soft very easily. This is the same spring that I broke so many records with, ran 10s, so many people run 9s with these kind of sets of springs. And if you need some, we have them in stock on the Bisimoto web store. Just want to give you some insight on how important something this simple and easy is. Very, very important, and please take full advantage of what it has to offer. I was being quoted for a carb tune, 400, it's crazy. That is actually not so bad, JC1014. It says, when tuning carb setup, what accessories, tools we need to help with tuning? Wideband picked up for small block C10. Well, it depends. The kind of carburation setups, JC, that I tend to tune here at Bisimoto are side drafts. So you think of the side draft Delatos, side draft Webers, side draft Maconis. Those are the ones that we typically play around with. And a wideband, of course, is very important to be able to get your air fuel ratios right. Emulsion tubes are also very good because it helps with emulsification of the fuel, where it kind of introduces it from a solid liquid system into a more aerated system, so that emulsion tubes help create that emulsified opportunity. The main jet, which is really the main fueling of the carburetor, the air jet, which helps kind of blast that and kind of weakly change the fuel ratio as well. You have also idle control jets that allow you to optimize your fuel ratios at idle. And then also the Three other things people tend to ignore but are quite critical is the idle control mixture screw, the float bowl jet, which the float actually sits like a chamber or like a big old, I don't want to call it a toilet, but it's just this compartment that holds the fuel, and then it's fed by this nozzle. So the float bowl nozzle has different orifices, and it has a float level like what you see inside a toilet. So when the float level is high, it stops the nozzle from flowing fuel into said chamber. And if it gets lower, that kind of bulb goes down and allows it to come in. If you have too big a setup, you kind of have a bit of a lazy kind of overflow because you're consuming less that you can fill up and kind of miss things kind of really nasty. If you have too small, you can actually run out of fuel and run lean doing a full throttle run. So tuning that is quite critical. And above and beyond that, you do have the pump nozzle jet. You know when you stab on the throttle, and you can imagine how air is less dense than fuel. You stab on the throttle, air will go into your engine, get sucked in, but fuel can't travel that fast. And you're injecting fuel for the right fuel ratio to make power or for economy or a combination of the two. The only way to prevent you from having a lean hesitation is to squirt in rapidly some fuel into the intake tract. So when you push that on the throttle plate opens up, air gets sucked into your engine to help with that air, that gulp of air that just went to your power plant. You need to squirt and inject fuel to compensate, give you the right nice mixture. And what that translates is to a smooth transition or accel fuel when you're moving forward. Being able to understand those basic carburetor concepts are the reasons why most carburetor tuners make excellent fuel injection tuners, because you can imagine if you just came out the gate tuning fuel injection and didn't understand why you had to add accel fuel or decel fuel, physically understand that being able to tune carburetors is a key thing. So to answer your question, my good friend, JC, carburation requires a multitude of jets, which are hard things. Unlike keyboards where you're doing injection, where you don't have to really buy anything to be able to adjust your pulse width or your injection duty, think about carburation. You don't know what jet you're going to need for each client, so you have to have this multitude of jets to just keep on hand, which I have a whole couple of boxes of those, both air and main fuel jets. For idle, you need the idle jets as well. You need to understand the concepts of the carburetor to play with the idle screw mixtures. And then you also have to, in a perfect world, especially if this is a competition car, you do need to have different size of orifices that go into your flow poles. So the fact that someone's charging $400 for a tune, that's not a bad idea. Most tunes, especially here at Bisimoto, are $220 an hour, and the average tune is 2 to 3 hours. So you could have the opportunity to spend anywhere from $440 to $660 to get a proper tune, and it's done right. And yes, carbureted cars also do need tuning. That's where I hone my teeth. My D series I talked about with this valve spring kind of setup, I ran 10.7 with that. It was carbureted, side drive carburetors. When I ran 9.7 with the Insight, that was also carbureted as well, CRX to the Insight, and then I ended up going to injection to get a lot more. So it was pretty good. Squirt, I like that, says V. Thank you so much, V, from YouTube. Appreciate you indeed. Thanks, because of you, I have been exploring the tuning potential of the D16. Good job, says Claude Dutton. Not so much insane horsepower, but the more durability and fun. Twin charge D66 will post video soon. Look forward to seeing that, Claude. And by all means, that engine still has a lot of potential. In the other room, I still have my record-breaking D series that ran 10s, and you won't believe how crazy I hogged out the head. Keep in mind that the D series head has the highest potential for power. That is the place that you can go and do a ton. Let's see here. I'm knowing so many of my good friends here. Maybe you're bringing a car out to Fuel Fest in California. Yes, I would like to do that. I typically do. Last time I brought the Moby. The year before that, I brought the K3V. The year before that, I brought the K3V. So yeah, we've done some good stuff. I got a picture with you. I think it was 2009. It says Ford Adventure. Very, very much possible. It was a good time out there, you know. Are you a raw acceleration or canyon road kind of guy? I like raw acceleration in the canyons. I like them all. I don't go fast, but I do like raw acceleration. There's just something about just the brute force of just hauling butt in a straight line and then turning and still feeling those G's. It's just great. I love acceleration. That's one of the reasons why, as even a diehard petrol head, I've started to dabble quite a bit into performance EVs, because the torque is amazing. Not putting around EVs. I don't think I've driven my Model 3 on a street in months now. However, the Plaid, the Prologue, these are really fun cars, electric. I love it. And the K3V, the kind of car I took to a lot of events, including the Moby that we be driving recently, that we drove recently and should be doing a lot more with. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. That's a long ass spring, says Extra Truck. Yeah, it is long. And you know what? It is a single spring. So that is the reason why. The installed height is quite generous on the D series and the F series engines. So you can get away with the seat pressure you need and the open pressure, even up to 500 lift, with a single spring. Now, when you have a twin cam engine where you have hood clearance is an issue and the manufacturers have to make the heads a lot more shorter, you may have maybe anywhere from 50 to 70% of this height. Then how do you get the open pressure you need to keep float at bay, being where your valve is careening away from the valve head or from the valve seat, or it's ski jumping off the tip of the camshaft via a rocker or a direct bucket. When that happens, you need a lot more pressure to prevent that from happening, to keep the profile adhering to the cam profile, or keep the valve orchestration adhering to the cam profile. Then you have to go with a dual and sometimes triple spring, because in the same kind of shorter installed height, you can have multiple springs to give you the seat pressure you need, where maybe one or two of the springs are doing most of the seat pressure, and when it opens, the other springs kick in and allow you to have the open pressure you need for reliable setup. And then above and beyond that, because those two springs have different frequencies of harmonics, if one frequency comes into play, the other one will cancel it out. It's just really cool stuff. Valve train dynamics is just fascinating stuff indeed, you know? Let's see here. Are any of the fires affecting your area, says Brian Onto Wheels? Yes and no. So directly, whether it's here in Ontario where the shop is or where I reside in San Dimas, we've not had any challenges directly with fires or having any issues with our homes or the property here. What we have seen is a very untidy environment, horrible air to breathe. The pool of my house is completely black with the most recent fires. Here at the shop, it just reeked outside. We had a fire not too far away from here. Kind of the Rancho Cucamonga, Fontana area, there was a small fire. It just reeked over here, and outside was full of ashes. So above and beyond a very dirty pool and breathing impairments and just having untidy outdoors or compound, we have been okay. But thank you so much for asking. Appreciate you, D. A lot of great people lost their homes. It's quite sad indeed. And it's just difficult. Some insurance companies are misbehaving. It's just really sad, you know? It's now called Import Face-Off. Oh, IFO is still around, it says Ford Adventure. Okay, that's good to know. I know Frank Choi, who had the Battle of Imports, he's completely retired from the racing scene and is now doing something more in the tech sector, which is pretty cool. P.S. Paulus says, hey, BC, here on YouTube, do you think in a couple of decades, say 7 or 8 years, internal combustion engines will be completely obsolete, similar to how horse-drawn carriages are today? It's a great question. I don't typically see that being completely obsolete. I don't. I still see there's an opportunity for internal combustion, especially with newer technologies and fuels that are more synthetic in nature. The challenge is, both from an efficiency standpoint and just being able to have this ubiquitous nature that won't be ubiquitous forever, which is fossil fuels. I see it declining, and even getting to a point where they were looking at hydrogen or battery electric, it'll get to a point where it may end up being a wealthy person's pastime. So in 7, 8 years, I feel that we will still see internal combustion engines, especially here in North America. In other parts of Europe, it won't be as commonplace. I think China will completely be done with you having access to any internal combustion in their area as well. In America, I see a lot more people start to dip their toe into the whole technology pool, meaning they don't want to jump into full BEV or battery electric vehicle, but play around with hybrids as a way to get a little more comfortable. And I understand the rationale there for those individuals who are not early adopters. I get it. And also the EREV application, which I feel some Chinese companies are doing as well, may become a lot more popular here. EREV being, you have a battery operated vehicle with an onboard generator. And we get to a point where you have a limitation with range because your batteries are dying. Your onboard petrol or internal combustion will come on at a fixed or limited RPM where it's most efficient to allow you to charge and get you to your destination. At the most recent CES in Vegas, I spoke to some representatives from Scout, which is a company that has been resurrected to create some really cool SUVs. And they have an EREV situation in their vehicle where you can even tow, take advantage of all the zero emissions capabilities that you may see, and power and torque with an electric setup. But to increase your range of being able to tow, upon demand, the petrol engine comes on and then charges your electric battery pack to allow you to continue with your electric function, which is pretty cool. And I see benefits with that. Someone like myself may never or barely ever touch the petrol side because I'll plan accordingly. By the same token, I foresee that. So 7-8 years, North America, no, internal combustion is still gonna be strong and still around. Not as prominent. Parts of Europe and in China, definitely it's gonna be close to obsolete, if not already. Think of what they're doing in Sweden and Norway and areas like that. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. Either way, we will continue here at Bisimoto team and I to create things that are fun and can embrace and have a good time. So pretty excited about what the future has in terms of performance and enjoyment of everything automotive. Oh, 7 to 8 decades, not years. Okay, well, 7 to 8 decades, yeah, that's very important. Anything can happen. In 80 years, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be all right. It'll be something else. I don't think fossil fuels will be the way to go. There'll be other ways for us to use in 70, 80 years. Either hydrogen, nuclear, electric, is gonna be something else. It's gonna be pretty amazing. I don't think internal combustion will be around anymore. But great question, thank you so much. How do you say your name? Oxiofrox. Hopefully I didn't destroy your name completely. Oxiofrox says, BC, you've accomplished a lot. I'm immensely proud of your success, especially in the field where not a lot of people look like you. I followed you from a huge import era back in the 90s to becoming. Thank you so much, Oxiofrox. Appreciate the kind words. Best is yet to come. Did you get the EPM, says Spanky Performance? Something came in today, so I think it is. So for those of you who don't know, Spanky Performance is the reason why this Insight could be running again very soon. My EPM, I lent out to someone, never got it back, so I don't know where it is. Typically, you know, I have friends or customers say, hey, my EPM could be misbehaving, could I borrow yours? And I don't know where it is. Maybe Marvin has it, I don't know who has it, but I don't have an EPM. I actually need 2 of them. EPMs are engine position modules manufactured by AEM for quite a few years. It replaces the distributor by being a Hall effect cam and crank pickup signal device. It looks like a puck, very small, really cool. And that device allows you to be able to trigger fuel and ignition activities in a sequential injection setup that can be used anything from inline 4 Hondas to flat 6 Porsche air-cooled engines, you know, and V8s too. So think of it as a distributor, but instead of a distributor distributing spark, it replaces the distributor, looks like it, so I kind of like that look of it, and allows you to have a cam crank signal to your engine control unit of choice so that your engine can run properly, which is pretty good, you know? So yes, Spanky, thank you so much. If you have another one, let me know, but I appreciate you. And I think something did come in today, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. What cars do you have in the background, says Hami on YouTube? I have quite a few. So I have a 997 right here, which is like a GT3 Tribute. We converted that to center exit exhaust. We're now going to implement a couple of updates to this car. Above and beyond changing and upgrading to some new Toyo tires, we are going to install headers on that. Excuse me. We're going to install headers on that vehicle, coated headers, of course, and then also have a bypass, because right now it has a very high flow exhaust system, which is quite loud. And in California, especially in Orange County, there are very strict regulations against noise. So we're going to have a setup here where it sounds, excuse me, it's kind of cold here, where it sounds factory. And then with a touch of a button, it will open up when need be on the track to make all the noise and have all the power that the client can desire through that flat 6 3.4 liter engine. So that being said, that's why that's here. In front of that is a center seat Porsche that we built years ago. And we launched that. Jay Leno drove it, Ralph Chills, just a really fun car. One of the most fun truck cars I've ever experienced, and Jay Leno said the same thing. I have the Bisimoto wagon right here with an all-wheel drive CRV setup with a K-series sequential gearbox. My record-breaking Insight. I have a yellow 914 that runs, but I don't know if I should build it or part with it. I'll probably just put that for sale. I have a twin-turbo Cayman, the first mid-engine Porsche I've ever owned, which is pretty nice. And way in front of that is my good friend, St. James, his convertible 911. So those are some of the cars that we have here in the vicinity where I'm having this nice conversation with all of you. BC says, Ropa Vieja from TikTok. I've been a fan since the EF wagon, 700 horsepower, single cam. Amen. Thank you so much. And this is the second V2 of that with a twin cam K series. But the first one, yes, was a D16 Z6. I remember when I first built that, people said we'll call him BS. There's no way someone can make 700 horsepower on a D series. We did it, and now it's like with that particular, how should I say, recipe from the wagon, with a bigger turbo and crazier fuel. Like some people do methanol, bigger turbos. People make it 800 horsepower. So it's so interesting how for many years the team now will create amazing advancements in everything automotive, and then people would call BS, like, you're full of crap, it's a lie, it can never happen. And then other people who are kind of clever kind of look at it and copy it and put like bigger, more aggressive components on them, and boom, they make the same power output. Or they copy exactly, get the same result. So it's pretty good it feels good to be able to create, have a lot of, how should I say, people who don't believe, like a lot of critics, and then when you prove them wrong, it feels even more gratifying. So it's pretty cool indeed. But thank you so much for your support, Ropa Vieja. Appreciate you indeed. Okay, let's see. So much love here on YouTube and on Instagram. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, for the venture, another great question. Do you feel like you hit the max potential while with the Honda F22 single cam engine? Absolutely not, Ford. My limitations were based on two things. One, the rules of the time when we had the opportunity to race that professionally, and secondly, resources. So even though I did fund the building of that car and also all the technology that went into it and continue to experiment, it really came out of my pocket. I didn't have some unlimited amount of resources to play around with and find every amount of horsepower. Secondly, rules. Nowadays, people natural aspirated are running nitromethane. Can you imagine if we were running nitromethane instead of regular ethanol or alcohol back then? Can you imagine the type of power it makes? So instead of making 455 to the wheel on that, could I have made 600, 700, 800 horsepower natural aspirated using nitromethane? So yeah, we had not even crossed significantly. There are even better fuels now, better oils, better dry sump systems, better friction reduction capabilities, improved piston dome designs, better camshafts I haven't explored. There's just so much that we could have done, absolutely. So no, nowhere near the peak. Just like Formula One, where they continue to improve every year, we had the opportunity to do the same thing. Hello, love your work, says Timer Mega. Amazing vehicles, thank you so much, appreciate that. Also, get well soon. I got a flu too. I hope I don't have a flu. I woke up this morning, I don't know if it's still bad, but my eyes are kind of red. And I think my eyes are still red, but I still feel kind of cold. I don't think I have a flu. And then I think Jonathan was sniffling today too. But we should be okay. But thank you so much for your concern, Timer Mega. Good evening to you, 4T Cartel. Thanks so much for joining this Bisimoto Tech Tuesday. January, if you had to build a Le Mans car, what would you use? I would say probably that 914 over there, a mid-engine, really cost-effective Porsche. That'd be pretty cool. It's so weird. I was at AEM this past Thursday and Friday, and we're talking about building a Le Mans car with some of my peers that came into this training that we had at AEM. And we're thinking about doing something for next year where we can have some cost-effective cars with a very significant budget and do something maybe with a Nissan Leaf motor. That would be pretty cool, right? Handy Merch on TikTok just gave my second number 2 gifter badge. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Number 3 gifter badge, once again from Handy Merch. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I need a job, BC, says Nismo. Nismo, if you have the capability of being able to capture content and edit said content and provide us assets, we may be having a position for you. We're looking for someone here in-house that can film some of the crazy stuff we do here. The bad thing is that we're constantly working, all of us here, and we never have a chance to really capture content and put out there. Even me talking to you guys right now is more of like a vacation that I'm doing right now to interact with all of you. And I want to be able to explore that. I'm a mechanical engineer, says Nismo. Okay, you're definitely overqualified for that position. But there are many opportunities. Where do you reside, Nismo? Maybe I can help you. I know that the team at AEM and Holly are constantly looking for engineers. So if that's the case, you may be able to apply there. Or if you're not part of LinkedIn, I see opportunities for MEs all the time on that particular website or that particular app. So please, by all means, we keep that flat 8A with high pressure titanium retainers and light buckets. We keep, float at bay with high pressure titanium retainers and light buckets. Yes, that's true. Spring pressure is one thing, but if you put too much spring pressure, that's why this is perfected. But if you put too much spring pressure, it can actually rob power from you. And then one way to be able to keep float at bay, in addition to spring pressure, is using lightweight components, titanium valves, titanium retainers, lightweight rockers, lightweight buckets, buckets that are not full of oil, so you can have like solid buckets instead of fluid-filled ones. There's so many cool things you can do. Yes, I agree with you indeed, Exo Truck. Do you have any plans on trying to make the Plaid go faster now, or is that even possible? It says liking ATL. Yes and no. So what I've done so far with the Plaid, which has just been way faster than factory, is to lighten up the components that currently exist. Above and beyond some aero accoutrements, courtesy of Unplugged Performance, we did lower the vehicle to help with some aerodynamics as well. Lightened the interior by taking out the front two seats, which are super heavy with all the creature comforts of ventilated and heated seats and airbags and all that fun stuff. We kind of spoofed the airbags and put in like these racing halo seats from Momo. Wheels, we got some lightweight wheels courtesy of Unplugged Performance as well, and also some lightweight stickier tires courtesy of Toyo tires. So that being said, we did everything we do without touching the controller or the inverters. Now the reason for that is, if I like to keep having updates, and boy, with the software-defined vehicles that Tesla creates, that's one of my favorite things about those cars, that is constantly improving. It's almost like you buy a car and it's constantly getting better or more valuable as time progresses. Unlike in the past, if you bought your Honda Civic from the dealership, that 2008 Honda Civic is going to be a 2008 Honda Civic. Things may go awry as time progresses as it gets like older and more worn. But imagine a world where you have the opportunity to have a brand new car, and the more you drive it and the more updates come your way over the air, the better it gets, the more features you get, the more range you get, the more cool like little Easter eggs you can see, the better the car drives, the more safety parameters, recalls can be done over the air. It's just really cool. So that being said, I do love the over-the-air updates. The caveat is, if you ever modify the controller on any of the Teslas, or modify the inverter on any of the Teslas, get that little extra something, whenever you upload to the mothership and get your updates, they will recognize it and then kind of shut you down and give you a red screen, or really impair your ability to enjoy the car any further. So that being said, to mitigate that, and especially with Teslas, I do not play with my inverters at all on a car that's still tethered to the mothership. Mothership being Fremont, wherever all these over-the-air updates come from. Now, with cars that are transplanted with Tesla technology, by all means, we do a full standalone, whether we're putting in Porsches, Rolls Royces, anything we do where we use some of the Tesla equipment, we do go full tilt and just have full control independently of torque curves and everything else and all its capabilities. So that being said, yes, if it's an aftermarket setup that is never tethered to the mothership. No, if it's something that we want to enjoy and continue to explore over the updates for those software-defined vehicles. We, Subaru, says that Truck, keep float at bay with high pressure springs, titanium retainers, and light buckets. Amen. Yes. Do you still do J-Series swaps? I don't do them in-house. We do tune J-Series here, and we do still provide components, but I do not build or do swaps here in-house. I'm here for the J-Series tech tip, says Kev Weird Boy 90. Well, got my first one, still have parts. And also, talking about valve springs, similar valve springs also exist for the J-Series. We have those too, which is pretty cool. We have them all. I love J-Series, one of the most underrated Honda engines, really is. Scout is taking that approach, absolutely. Talked about that earlier. They are doing the EREV setup, and I like it indeed, especially for those individuals who are a little shy of full battery electric vehicles. Hybrid is the way, says Proper TI. Full EV would never be good enough for our lifetime, nor would it be a fun compared to ICE vehicles. Which Proper TY sharing a sentiment that I had until I built my own. I used to feel the same way, even crazier than you, Proper TI. I thought that EVs can never be fun. They suck. They have no soul. They're not fun at all. Boy, was I wrong. When I built the K3V and drove for the first time, it is one of the most fun, if not the most fun Porsche I'd ever driven in my life. And I've driven more. I have a 920 horsepower twin turbo one here. I've driven client cars that we built for them. I've had the opportunity to drive things with Porsche. That immediate torque and then the supercharger whine on the K3V, first EV that I built, has changed my life completely. And fast forward to today, 90% of the cars in my facility here overall are EVs. So I beg to differ. I feel that there are different ways of propulsion and different ways of enjoying, and they both have their benefits and disadvantages. The one thing I have as an engineer, I talked about my team about this as recently as yesterday, the one caveat I have in terms of hybrid technology is I feel that almost is the worst of both worlds with a typical hybrid, where you have a separate petrol engine, a separate electric setup. I feel like when you're on petrol, you're dragging around batteries and electric powertrain. When you're a full EV setup, you're dragging along petrol components, and your push upon the initial startup is very dirty for the first few seconds. So I really don't see that. But for those individuals who are not comfortable to adopt the BEV life, and once again, today, like my Plaid gets 340, almost 350 mile range. The Prologue gets 278, which is great as well. I drive to work like 12 miles each way, so I don't drive that far. If I have to travel somewhere, I can always plan accordingly to be able to charge when I get something to eat or use a loo. I come back and it's good to go. I keep traveling. So it's really great. I don't get the whole discontent with individuals who have not experienced it. Now, I understand the legislation where they're trying to shoehorn people into buying EVs like mandates. I feel you should buy whatever you want, as long as it's available, do what you want, keep it clean, all that fun stuff. So I get that. I don't understand why people politicize EVs versus petrol. That's really silly. And as for us here at Bisimoto, we will build everything. We have a hybrid in-house. The first one we did for American Honda, the CRZ. So we have that technology, appreciate that. I can see the advantages of EREV. I love BEVs. The majority of my cars in my own personal collection are EVs as well. I also see a place for petrol. Just sometimes you want to smell that fume, the E85 fumes. You want to hear the sound. I get it. But by far, my EVs are much faster than my petrol cars, and I love going fast. I love the sounds of that supercharger whine as well. So hopefully it helps. Is there a hybrid conversion for older vehicles, says Byron? There is a company, I think the guys from Galpin Autosports has a hybrid setup for Porsches, older air-cooled setups, where it's an integrated motor assist that is an electric motor and generator and absorption unit that exists between the gearbox and the engine. So it helps us assist, so that exists. It's a little more expensive than a full EV conversion, but they do exist. They do. Driving the Acura NSX latest NC version showed me some of the advantages that can exist with EV when done right, combined with petrol. Just a lot of cool things, Do you see marquee manufacturers adopting hydrogen plants in the future, says Artec Moto? I see a few, not all of them. Even from back in the day, companies like Toyota/Lexus, Honda/Acura, Hyundai, they really embraced the hydrogen, like fuel cell kind of setup. From the Clarity to the Nexo to the, trying to remember Toyota's version, what it's called. I see the name, but I'm drawing a blank. Maybe you guys can help me with that. But there are quite a few vehicles out there that do have that. So I see those individual companies still embracing it. Do I see Stellantis jumping on that anytime soon? I have not seen any data around that. Mercedes-Benz has done quite a bit. BMW has gone quite a bit. I see manufacturers doing it, but not by a few scale until the infrastructure becomes even more advantageous. I, for one, like the fuel cell concept. I definitely like using hydrogen as a combustible fuel as well, because it gives you the capability of a closer to zero emission setup with the sounds and emotions that some people tend to like when it comes to internal combustion engines. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate the blessing. I might, but have damage by the campsite. I have to look. Well, let me know. Spanky Performance, if you can help, I would love to be able to explore that indeed. Happy Tuesday to you as well, Ashton Campbell. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you. Do you have any plans on trying to make the Plaid go faster? No, is that impossible? Says Lucky ATO. I talked about that a little bit. But yes, always possible, depending if I want to connect to the mothership or not. So many tires, actually. Yep, some for sale, some for our use. Thank you so much for recognizing that and seeing that. Those tires have a special compound to handle electric motor torque. Not all of them. I have a variety of tires up there, from Toyota to other brands. I have everything from the R888Rs that we tend to, that's what's on the red vehicle right there. We have Proxy Sports, which is on this right there as well. I also have a couple of RRs that's going to a new project that's coming up very soon. A variety of stuff. Oh, I also have some TQ drag setup. So if you want to drag race your electric Porsche, I do have some 5x130 pattern wheels. They're pink, with also some TQ drag tires, which is pretty cool up there as well. Web camshafts is one of the best. Thank you so much for Web for joining. Guys, I love these guys. That's my go-to for all kind of crazy camshaft stuff. And so amazed they came today, especially since I was talking about valve trains. So thank you so much for making our lives much easier, Webcam. Appreciate you guys and love you deeply. Liking ATL, thanks. My pleasure indeed. Thank you so much. Would you ever build an all-wheel drive EP3 Civic with a J series? Says Adam MK 7.5. It's totally up to Honda. So almost on an annual basis, we do tend to present Honda with some concepts we want to explore. And what makes things really cool for us is many times when we get support from them, we can build something new and something old school. If I were to do anything like that, an EP3 would be cool, but most likely may hover around EF or EE chassis. I would love to know all-wheel drive CRX. That'd be really cool, right? EP3s I've never owned, but I did always kind of like the shapes of those little softer lines. I did like it, you know? Ashton Campbell says, everyone is slowly going J-Series on motor, but there are still some who are hard-headed with the K-Series. Yes, K-Series are becoming almost a small block Chevy or big block Chevy of the Honda world, I should say, depending on which size you're getting. The J-Series are very, very cost-effective. I mean, they came in so many things, from Accords to Odysseys, so you can find them wrecking yards pretty cost-effectively. We've had quite a few off-road guys with their buggies and sand rails with those as well. You can do a very comfortable 400 horsepower boosted all day, all night. Has a lot of potential because the head does flow quite nicely in intake. The cams seem to be the weak spot on those engines because you're limited based upon the bore of the cam. Yeah, unlike using rock arms to bolt down a camshaft of any size, you have to slide it into the head. And if your lobes need to be really huge for great power, sometimes they can be larger than the journal surface to slide into. So to be able to get around or to mitigate that, you have to bore out said sliding mechanism in the heads, which can be a very expensive and very challenging excursion to explore. But when you do it properly, it can be absolutely fantastic. So yeah, those engines have a lot of potential. I like them a lot. We made 4 digits on those as far back as 2013. It's pretty cool. That's why I say hybrid all the way as proper TI. You get the best of both worlds. The sound and feel of combustion engines, but the help of pure instant power electric, they complement each other, in my opinion. And once again, properly TI, I hear your sentiment. I really do. I've explored and experienced them all. There is really something to be said about a pure EV setup. There's also be something said about a pure internal combustion setup. The combination can be done right, but for some of us who have the option of driving both, we prefer either or. But yeah, I feel you, especially for those individuals who are somewhat EV curious, not quite sold, you know? What car shoes do you recommend, says Bruce Cappuccino. There are quite a few. There's Haggerty, which is a pretty good one. We have had it for quite a few years. There's other ones like J.C. Taylor, there's Grundy. There are quite a few out there that can really ensure some of your classic vehicles or vehicles of historical nature. You could also have the opportunity, if you have a truck car or a show car, to insure those that are not your daily driver in a very cost-effective manner. And you can have excellent coverage to boot. So yeah, there are quite a few things that you can do there indeed with great success. Let me know which one that you could look up to, and let me know which one you like. Do you think about turbocharging on an R18A engine or an L15 engine from Honda? They're not so popular as a K-Series and are cheaper. That's changing very soon. NAB Visual Design, Nicholas, who's an amazing concept artist who's helped me with a ton of projects here at Bisimoto. The L15A is becoming a very popular one, especially the L15s that exist in the Honda Civics. People are starting to look at that as an alternative or a small block, how should I say, dare I say, Type R engine. So instead of a K20C, people look at the L15s for turbocharging. So I think that the R18s are an okay candidate, but they did have some challenges with some of the earlier blocks The L15s, a lot of potential, especially the ones from the Civic SIs. Those are really, really, really cool. All right. Idea for that, removable lobes, large lift carams, and the benefit of fitting in the bore would take some R&D. Yes, yes, yes. You know, the funny thing about the removable lobes is that we've seen through our experience, there's some J series that have press-on lobes, and on high output, high stressor applications, especially with big lift lobes and valve springs that are a little bit more stiffer than factory, you can mess around and have those lobes move on the shaft. So I think drilling at the bore is a great way to go. I'm getting so many calls, so many calls coming in. People expecting me to be done with my Tech2sDay by now, so please forgive me, guys. Forgive me indeed. Okay, let's see here. BC, my hundreds on TikTok says, I met you at the Porsche Ontario. The portal we were talking about your slammed, the porter we were talking about your slammed Tesla. The porter Steep ramps kill. They do, Sin City. So hundreds, yeah. Porsche Ontario, they have another event coming up next month. Hopefully I can see you there. It's if your car is 2006 or older, that's the place to be. Oh, you were the porter. Okay, I get it. No problem. Hopefully you'll be there at the next event coming up next month. That'd be good indeed. So thank you so much. All right, guys, it's almost an hour. How time flies. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining me on this Tech2sDay. Do have quite a bit to the team about with work. But nonetheless, please stay safe out there. It's supposed to be a rainy next few days here in Southern California. So if you reside in the greater SoCal area, please be safe, be defensive, and be kind out there in the wet weather. In the meantime, thank you so much, Corvold, who is everywhere. He's on Instagram, then he's on TikTok, then sometimes on YouTube. Thank you so much for the gifter badge. Appreciate that indeed. Dirty Dave as well. Thank you as well. So guys, see you next week. Have a pleasant balance of the week as well, and take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.